101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is award-winning and best-selling author and the author of the book The Secret Language of Your Body, no other than Miss Inna Segal. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Ina, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Hello, Daniel. Yes, definitely. So for me, I write books. I teach people about how they can heal themselves, how they can transform their life, how they can identify their health issues and connect them to their thinking, to the feelings they've had, to the experiences they've had in their lives. And then I give them ways and processes to really transform and essentially, whether it's healing an actual health issue or an emotional one, it's also about getting wisdom and growing and understanding who they really are. So that's kind of, in a very quick way, what I do and what I teach people.
Miss Ina Segal, thank you so much for sharing your new knowledge and wisdom to the world and hoping for more and more empowering books to come. How do you define the body's secret language and what convinced you it's a reliable system for understanding health beyond?
Well, I think the reliability of the system is that I've literally had hundreds of thousands of people message me and tell me that everything that I've written about a particular body part that they're dealing with or themselves, their emotions, is what they're going through. And so I can only say that when we start to understand that we have this internal language, that every part of our body has wisdom, and when we start to connect the pieces together and we start to say, well, to understand, what do my eyes do, for example? My eyes see, like that's the function of that part of the body. And so what would make my eyes deteriorate? Things that I don't want to see, right? So we start from, there's a lot of logic in actually understanding the body. And so we start going deeper and asking, well, what kind of things don't I want to see? Why do so many people have issues with their vision and their eyesight as they get older? And then we start to connect the pieces and go, well, actually, as I start to see my parents and grandparents and people that I love get older, it's uncomfortable. I don't want to see that. It's not something that's pleasurable, pleasant. So we actually subconsciously start to blur this out. And as we get older, the more we complain a lot about life, the more challenges we have that we don't want to see, the more vision issues people start to have. I'm not saying everybody does, but there is definitely a correlation that I found, and it's with everything in the body. It's like when we look at the throat and we start saying, well, what am I using my throat for? I'm using it to have a voice, to communicate, to share what I feel and my experiences. So if my throat is blocked, meaning I can't talk about things, I'm going to have issues, right? I'm going to have issues with my thyroid, which is hormones as well, because I'm not understanding my emotions. I'm pushing them back. I'm not recognizing them. And so when we start to really connect the wisdom of the body with our emotions, our experiences, it's so, so logical. And Daniel, I have taught so many nurses, doctors, medical professionals in a variety of different fields. Even just recently, had many doctors coming into different courses, doctors who are open to seeing that. I have a lot of doctors who've given me testimonials for the book as well, because they can recognize the mind, body, soul, so to speak, emotional connection. And they realize now that, stress is not just stress. Stress affects a nervous system. It can affect a heart. It can put blood pressure up. So the book is there to essentially give people a deeper insight into what might be going on with a particular part of your body, or if you've been diagnosed with a disease, what kind of factors, what kind of behaviors, what kind of thought patterns, what kind of experiences with your family can cause this. And then what do you do about it? My book is different from other people's in the same kind of field, because there's been a lot of people who wrote books since I wrote this one, trying to connect the pieces for others, but they often don't put processes together. They don't necessarily know how to do that, because essentially, just as a body can create a disease, it can also heal it when there is wisdom, when there's understanding, when there's a particular process that combines your thinking, pressure points, potentially breathing, feelings, changing how you are perceiving life and how you're living life. And so the book doesn't just have, this is what's wrong with you and why, but also how do you go about healing and transforming what's going on and understanding it, obviously, which, when we know ourselves, we usually live differently and feel different.
Very well said, Miss Ina. Very well said. Your book implies deep interconnection. How do you explain the mechanism by which emotional or mental states manifest as a specific physical symptoms or conditions?
Well, they manifest based on the fact that many of us experience trauma, and we experience all sorts of, situations and scenarios in our lives where we may have been hurt or rejected in a particular way. And depending on the age that this happened, and depending on who did it and in what experience it was, it will show up in a particular part of the body. So let's say if I felt, as I was growing up and I was a teenager, I felt deeply in conflict with my father, right? And I would argue, and we just didn't understand each other, when we're not on the same page with each other. Eventually, this can lead to liver issues. And the reason for that is because when we start to kind of understand more about the body, we start to realize that the body has feminine and masculine aspects to it. So the left side of the body, where the heart is where the spleen is connected to more of a feminine expression. And the right side of the body, where the liver is connected to the masculine expression. And so, and this is known in Chinese medicine and in so many different alternative kind of medicine. And so when we start to recognize this, we actually realize also that the body, we have energy, energetic parts of us, which are called chakras. And these chakras actually develop at a particular age and time period. And so for somebody who has a liver issue, for example, we can connect it to a time and to a chakra and start to explore relationships and experiences that led up to liver issues. I'm not going to say ever that liver issues are only connected to emotions, because it's connected to food. It's connected to, your consumption of alcohol, right? There's an interconnection. However, in my experience, I know a lot of people who didn't necessarily have issues earlier in their life, and they drink alcohol and they have food that's not the healthiest, and they don't have liver issues. So what we are looking at is, if something does show up, and part of this could be that everybody that is born has a weakness that they're born with. We can call it genetics, we can call it whatever we want, but essentially it's a weakness that in their body that is there to help them grow as a person, from my perspective and from years of research that I've done. And every part of the body is essentially pulling and giving you a message to help you understand yourself and to grow and to change how you're thinking, feeling, and acting from unhealthy into healthier ways.
How do you reconcile trusting the body's language with the necessity of evidence based medical diagnosis and treatment?
Well, from my perspective, when we're saying that there's evidence based, when you actually look at the evidence, most of the time, when you connect, when you're looking at a condition medically, they actually say they do not know where it comes from. So what it shows me is that the medical, just from that, how can I trust the medical system from my perspective to give me a solution to something when they are clearly saying they do not know where something comes from? And on top of that, whenever you take any medicine, and this is literally any medicine, there are side effects. And what I say to people is, medicine can be very helpful when you don't know how to connect and work with your body, right? It is there to give you time, but medicine does not heal. It usually suppresses or push, or maybe that it's seen as a cure where you don't have those particular symptoms, but you could have others. And medicine often looks at things in a very specific way, not seeing the whole story, not seeing all the parts that are involved together, which is probably why I have so many more doctors coming to me at this point, because they're recognizing that there is holistic medicine where we look at the person as a whole, we'll look at their emotions, we'll look at their thoughts, we'll look at their feelings, and then we might prescribe a way to heal or medicine that may support them on their journey, for that time. I am not a believer in having something that you are reliant on all for the rest of your life, because then that's not actually healing. Healing the body is recognizing, it's transforming its understanding. And I have thousands of testimonials from people who have actually used my book and my teachings, because I teach a lot of courses on this, and have transformed ailments that the doctors and the medical profession has told them that they can't transform or heal.
Miss Ina, as award-winning and best-selling author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Well, my long-term goals is to continue inspiring people, to continue sharing the message that you can become your own inner healer, that you have the power and the capacity within your own hands to transform your life in so many different ways. At the same time, I am constantly writing, and so I have a new book that I'm writing at the moment. I also create card decks, and I have an ancestral healing card deck coming out in a couple of months, in September. So I'm always in that experience of trying to share and teach, I also teach a lot of free master classes where people can come and just discover and explore my work. And so, that's kind of my vision, is to continually help people understand who they are and heal and transform their lives.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Ina, and looking forward for more and more success. What will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to create a book like you?
Do a lot of research. I think that research, don't put things down without taking time to really explore and understand, what it is that you're writing about, and also write from experience as well as research, combine both, but don't don't do the things that certain people encourage you to do, which is just, give it to ChatGPT to write for you, or, not putting your heart and soul into it and the real depth and knowledge. I think books are really special, and it's so important that we know that a book can change somebody's life, and that we really put everything into it that we know, so that it can truly impact people, and not let it be on the surface.
Thank you for your advice, Miss Ina. Hoping our listeners or watching right now will follow your advice. Some might argue this approach blames the patient. How do you differentiate taking empowered responsibility from harmful self blame?
I love this question because I think it's so important. I think that if you come to this without an understanding and without somebody guiding you, you can totally take, take this as, how is this my fault? I didn't create the abuse. I didn't create the, the horrible situation that happened to me. And healing is never about taking responsibility for the fact that somebody hurt you or a scenario that occurred, and and holding that blame or guilt or shame. What it is about is actually recognizing that no one can help you heal fully like you, because no one's going to do the work for you except you to heal and transform and understand yourself. So responsibility is actually going, I am strong enough now to face my old traumas. I'm strong enough and aware enough and have the tools to go back into memories of situations and change them and turn them around, because no one can do it for me. So responsibility is never about, it's my fault that I have this issue or disease. The responsibility is, if my body can create a disease, can I heal it? Can I understand it? Can I take responsibility for having a healing, essentially healing journey, but also that I'm going to do something every day of my life towards understanding myself, towards being kinder, towards transforming whatever it is that I'm dealing with. And maybe we take 5 minutes, maybe we take, a few hours to do it, depends on the day, but essentially it's having a practice.
Practice indeed make you perfect. How can understanding the body's subtle language before major symptoms arise be used as a powerful tool for preventative health and wellness?
Because your body is constantly giving you insights, and those insights could be tension, pain, feeling uncomfortable, feeling cold, feeling hot, having not feeling good inside, feeling dizzy, feeling ungrounded. So if you're not feeling amazing, then essentially your body is giving you a message, your body and soul, I should say. They're giving you a message, and what they're saying, what's really important is to start to connect within and to start to discover what is it about. Why do I feel like I have a heavy heart? Why do I feel like I can't breathe properly? Or I'm breathing shallowly. What fear or belief system or an experience am I bringing up that's old and not helping me and creating stress and conflict and tension in my life? And so when we start to ask questions, we start to get insight, and we essentially sensitize the body as opposed to walking around desensitized and numb. And we start to prevent not just physical illness, but conflict with other people, self-sabotage. We start to see life in a different way, and we open ourselves to new opportunities and possibilities.
Miss Ina, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season as well. Comedy 101 in second season, and food 101 in fifth season too. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love letters in each fourth season, as well as my movie 101 review and music 101. Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season, and please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Ina, if your model of understanding the body's language become widely adopted, what's one of the biggest change you believe would occur in our healthcare systems or societal view of wellness?
I think people are going to be seen not as just what your disease is or what your issue is, but you would actually be seen as the whole person and looked at, you know, uh, you would be, when you would go to a medical professional, they would actually ask you questions, not just about your physical body and just your pain and how you're experiencing it, but they'd ask questions about your relationships. They would ask questions about your childhood and what happened to you. They would want to get to know you. They would ask about your traumas and your difficulties. And in that way, they would help you to understand yourself, and they would give you tools and keys to work on yourself in combination with potentially having medical treatment, as opposed to separating and saying we're only physical beings. We don't have a soul and spirit and emotions and thoughts. We're just, the body is only sick because of something, magical, essentially, or physical that's happened because because you're just unlucky. This is what I'm hearing from people. You got cancer because you're unlucky, not because you ate unhealthy, not because you potentially there were traumas in your life that you don't know how to work with. And again, this is not blame. This is just the fact that we are not being educated enough where we can take responsibility and we can feel empowered to change our lives.
How do you envision your approach best intriguing or integrating with rather than replacing conventional medical care?
Well, I don't think it will ever replace it, because I think that in order to really work on yourself, you have to be sensitive. You have to sensitize, and that takes time. But what I'm seeing is an understanding of how, that what I'm talking about, that stress, that emotions, that traumas, that are feelings, feeling rejected, for example, feeling angry, actually cause health issues, and that medicine and the doctors can truly listen and then give people a combination of medicine. Maybe they'll also work with with supplements rather than going straight for medication. Depends on the case. The doctors will talk about health from the perspective of having a practice, food, asking yourself questions, even guiding people through particular processes to get to know where a person got stuck in their trauma. Why are they not moving forward in their life? Why do they keep recreating the same situations? And so I feel the combination is, and I think it's happening more and more, where doctors recognize that our thoughts, our emotions, our experiences, our traumas, our spiritual self, every interconnection with other people, our relationships, all of this creates our health or lack of health, and that they will start to recognize that different parts of the body have wisdom and are actually telling us a huge story about why we're sick or why we're well.
Miss Inna Segal, award-winning and best-selling author, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your books itself?
Thank you.
So where do people buy your book, Miss Ina?
People can, just depends where you are in the world. So if you just essentially put the secret language of your body or innersegal.com is another place where you can find a lot of information. But even putting my name will show up my various books and card decks. So whether it's on Amazon that you buy it, or ideally going into your bookstore, because we want bookstores to continue and seeing if they have The Secret Language of Your Body or my other books. Understanding Modern Spirituality was my latest one, and just seeing if you can support them would be absolutely amazing. Otherwise, online. And yeah, you can go to my website, and there's a lot of incredible free tools that you can start with at innersegal.com.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Ina Segal, because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books to come. So, Miss Ina, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
More to come, people. See you soon.